project. But just wanted to clarify that. This does, to a certain extent, clean up the project as far as closeout. B&B masonry will be done by Wednesday of this week, and we'll be demobilizing, and we'll be looking at getting the tunnel opened up. So we are moving forward with that. Also keep in mind that when we went to bid on this project, the unforeseens as far as opening up a state route, excavation-wise, not only for archaeological contamination and for boulder excavation, there's always a rock clause within a project. We had very small portion of contamination on the project on the south side of the tunnel when we dug in the sections. So once we were outside of the right-of-way getting the tunnel sections in place, we had an opportunity to change order some of the basalt fascia rock and a few other things into the project. But until that point, we were unable to, not knowing exactly what we were going to run into opening up the state route. Just to clarify on that. So the transition as far as project management between previous administrator, myself, as well as project manager for Wallace, and then current project manager for Wallace. We've had a little bit of turnover there. Again, no excuses. It was a mistake. It's coming before you now. So any specific questions on that? There is some photos that are in the packet as far as what the transformational rock is with the artist Rectizy, as well as the high school students and previous administrator. And then the asphalt work obviously is pretty straightforward. You can see where the asphalt's failing from the failure of the tack in between the two lips of asphalt.
I have a question. So I can understand how mistakes can be made. But if I remember correctly, we returned some money back on this project. And that money is gone and not available for this change order, is that right?
Yeah, it's a de-obligation clause, specifically with stimulus. When we broached that subject, I believe that was right around legislative action time, beginning of the year. Had conversations with Camas, and regionally it made a lot of sense to add that, I think, to their Lake Road project to be able to make that even more of a success. And percentage-wise, we're required to de-obligate a portion on how the bids come in. Okay. Just to clarify, this is still within budget, so even though it is stimulus dollars, it's not out of city coffers at this point with change order number 4.
Okay. So are we still, as far as the project as a whole, are we still under budget?
Yes.
Good. Dave?
You may have answered this. I was deep in my own thoughts here, and I may have missed it. At what point are we going to tell people they can't cross as pedestrians over Highway 14 and they have to go through the tunnel?
I had conversation with Ken Hash today, local programs coordinator for DOT, and I did mention that to him on the phone when we were setting up the meeting. He thought that was a good idea as far as no access, not even limiting access, but basically closing that at-grade crossing. That was the whole concept, design, and analysis behind the PED tunnel. So we'll work on that with DOT within their facility.
And how do you get the word out about that?
Well, I think it's probably interagency since it's DOT's facility, but we have advanced warning signs as well as the website. Obviously, we'd ask enforcement as far as high times. It's kind of hard to nail down exactly when that's going to be utilized a lot. As you see driving by, there's been quite a bit of fishing going on down there at the docks lately. So there's some spikes, and then obviously summer months. But I think closure of that, similar to what we've done with Burlington Northern Santa Fe, where we've closed crossings in the past, at-grade crossings with the tracks. There's specific criteria when you close something down within that facility that's been utilized by the public, whether it's at-grade PED or at-grade vehicular. So I would work with DOT on that.
Okay, thanks.
You got monitoring cameras down there. Who's monitoring those?
Been working with Chief Mitchell on that, as well as Sergeant Cook, Allen. The monitors are a 360, and we have the taping capability, I think, goes almost a week, and then it tapes over itself, but we're alerted that there's been motion or something tampered with. So ultimately, it'll probably land with police, but I'm still working with the project manager on the specifics of that, because it's still a punch list item to resolve, to make sure that we're getting the reporting when we have an incident down there, an instance.
And they've already done the testing on it.
They've done the testing on it. I spoke to our construction inspector this morning, Lee Fitzpatrick. Sounds like we had some minor tampering down there with some grout being thrown out in the tunnel floor and a few things. So this will put us to test for the first time to see how thorough it is. So it's on both sides of the tunnel. You'll be able to see when you go down. It's pole mounted on both sides.
Other questions on the tunnel change order? Moving on. Change order for number 4 force main.
Same project that action was taken on tonight. There's some minor changes, actual reduction in the contract. There was some lump sums and cubic yards as far as excavation and material that were backed out of the project that weren't needed. So this just basically acknowledges backing those out of the project and identifying exactly what was installed in the field. So clean up for the end of the project, or near the close to the end of the project.
Questions? We are moving through these. Cemetery buyback.
Ernest and Pauline Kuhn, in accordance with Municipal Code 244, they have the opportunity to sell these back to the city at the same price in which they purchased. Fairly routine deeds for lots 3, 4, 5, and 6. We've been actually getting quite a few of these this year, so buybacks. Fairly routine. Any questions on the cemetery lot buybacks? Yeah.
Just out of curiosity's sake, what do we charge in today's dollars for a cemetery lot?
700 and, I don't know if we got the list with us or not. May have to look it up.
Right, I understand. It was just for
I think it's,
my
Sounds like a good
information.
deal, though.
I think it's right around $700. Molly can probably correct me if I'm,
Actually, I can't remember. I think that's pretty close. There is one section that's a little bit more expensive, that's $750, somewhere in there.
the upright monument,
Yeah.
and then obviously you've got the cremation and the other options, scatter garden, those things. But
It's-
conventional lot, I think, is right around 700. I'll follow up and give you a hard number.
It's still comparable, or a little less than comparable, with other cemeteries in the area. I mean, it's a little bit more reasonable than several others locally.
Mickey Mulder, our executive assistant, she does the comparables annually for the cemetery board, just to see where we're at now against Camas, since they've taken over the cemetery as well as
Fern
Evergreen.
Prairie, yeah.
Yeah, so it's in ballpark for a conventional lot, but I'll get you that number.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Wallace Engineering.
Yes. Supplemental number 4. So this is the construction contract for Wallace Engineering. Obviously, you'll see that there's 2 large portions to the contract, and this is full services. We are going to be utilizing our construction inspector, Lee Fitzpatrick, for all the utility inspection, excavation prep, curb and gutter pour,